Welcome to Beulah Disc Golf Course. My name is Tim Anderson, and I'm the old man of the forest here. In this video, we're talking about OB usage in fairways. This is a hot topic, dare I say, divisive. Over the years, row upon row of pretty white stakes have been springing up all over the planet.
Far as the eye could see.
And also springing up is the criticism, not just from a few of the players, but also from those watching. In fact, not long ago, while typing up notes for this video, I saw Greg Barsby throw a shot at the World Championships on day 2. His drive was tracking in for circle 1, and he hits a tree, and rolls to the right 30 feet and goes OB. Why was that OB line there? It really wasn't that much in play on the hole for anyone's drives, so it was mostly in play for those who hit an unlucky tree. So for those unlucky when hitting a tree or getting a roll off a bad ground play, what should have been a 50 or 60 foot putt for a probable 3 turns into a 4. So the concept I talked about in the intro video of a random element has now added 2 strokes instead of 1 because of the added OB. Whether that shot warrants a 4 is up to the course designer, of course, but that's really how it plays. Now I'm being a little harsh on that particular hole probably since I haven't played it, and I didn't see it in person. I really wish I could play that amazing course, so let's instead just think of it theoretically as a hole where someone added OB around a green which penalized rollaways more than drives. And we would really only find that information by being there in person and also looking at the stat mandatistics. Before looking at more examples of where added OB hurts or helps, let's look at some foundational concepts of the sport. In the first video, we talked about good shots, mediocre shots, and bad shots, or terrible shot, and that there should be different results for each of these items. Let's look at ball golf again, and yes, we don't want to copy that sport in all aspects, but they do have many things dialed in really well, and they have been working at this for a very long time. In ball golf, if you hit your drive down the middle, you will be in the fairway. That's our good shot. A mediocre shot would be in the first cut, which is a little bit taller grass and means you get less distance and no backspin on your shot. And backspin is a good thing. It's a tougher shot from here. After that comes the rough, which is a bad shot, and it's hard to drag your club through that stuff. You're begging for a good result from there. After the rough, there might be OB, but I stress the word might. We really need to try to get more of this gradual punishment integrated into our courses. To have a shot from a player A land inbounds and safe, and then player B has a 1 mile gust of wind take that shot 2 feet left and OB for a penalty just feels too random. In fact, looking at our progression from good to terrible, what we are doing is equalizing the mediocre, bad, and terrible shots, making them all the same. How can a slightly off-mark shot be treated exactly the same as a terrible shot that ended up 200 feet into the woods and then got pulled back into the fairway next to the mediocre shot with the same penalty? Here's something that feels a bit different about the sport in the 20 years since I left and then returned. In the 90s, there were only a few disc manufacturers, and each of them had fewer discs to choose from. And the disc that held the world distance record was very important. Everyone would immediately go and buy a couple when a record was broken, and the disc manufacturers really wanted their disc to have the title. When I came back, I quickly noticed there wasn't much talk of this top disc, and more importantly, I didn't even see a hole on many of the tour stops where a player would dare open up and throw a bomb. Too much dangerous OB. I imagine the manufacturers would like to see some bombs since that sells discs, and I know the fans would find a bomber hole as a great gathering spot which would spread out the traffic. And you gotta know the players love throwing a bomb once in a while. You just have to shape it so it rewards some accuracy as well. In ball golf, it's a huge deal, and it is worth millions of dollars to the equipment manufacturers. Everyone wants more distance. In the 90s, I was invited to go watch a PGA Tour event, and I spent the day watching John Daly. He had his Simon line. It was out driving people with his 2-iron when they were going driver. It was unreal, similar to when I watched Scott Stokely break the distance world record for the first time with his 91-mile-per-hour throws. Yes, I was the next one on the box after him. Anyone else want to go now? Insane arm speed and club speed from them both. Excessive OB detracts from the fun, both playing and watching. So how about we look at our fairways differently and treat OB as something we only use when absolutely necessary? Looking at our course here in Beulah, I use it only on a few holes for safety reasons since we only have 60 acres and only 2/3 of it usable. But hole 18 needs it to keep people away from the parking area and this cabin, which we're going to turn into an Airbnb soon. Disc golf vacation in Colorado? That's right. Shameless plug.
Game over!
I also have a net on hole 8 to keep people from going over a steep bank, so having OB a couple feet inside that net is needed to simulate them being 40 feet down the bank and in the stream. And here's one of the last places I have it, and I tried to use it creatively in order to separate the different player levels. I love the basket placement so much in hole 7 that all 4 cards are throwing at it instead of there being 2 pins, but there's only 2 tees. Since this never-used cell tower road goes down the fairway and wraps around behind the basket, I'm using it as an artificial stream. For the gold card, the road and left is OB, which comes into play a lot for both on your drive and on the green. For the blue card, the road is safe, and only left of it is OB. White shoots from the short tee and plays left of the road as OB, while the red card has no OB. It's a creative use that has so far been working out very well. Everyone has a different fairway in essence. There's also a drop zone for those who go OB on their drive. It's a pretty fun hole, and I think since it uses a road, it maybe feels less random than white stakes when defining OB. Remember that one of the criteria for a good hole is the visual aspect. That visual aspect is important. I've seen rock walls on a few courses, including the Great Maple Hill. These are great for defining an OB line because of the visual aspect, but more so because they are permanent. I heard a vidcast with a couple pros discussing those walls, and they missed the most important aspect, and it was the permanence. They always see these courses in tour shape with OB stakes and signs defining the boundaries. But one thing that is needed is for the course to play well all year long, and for those who watch the tournaments and then travel to those locations to be able to see those same courses. I heard a pro responding to the changes at Toboggan last year saying that he liked them. This was before the tournament, so I don't know how he liked the changes after the weekend. They had added some OB stakes on a few holes. He said he liked that the course would be playing harder. And that's the reason for all these OB lines on many of our courses, but what we've done is place them between the fairway and the first cut in many cases. I remember a tournament from 2022 where every single hole was lined with OB, and it kept everyone from leaving the fairway.
Are you serious?
I just hated watching it, and the two biggest reasons were there was nobody getting to scramble, and every shot was on perfect lies. Scrambling is where you really show your skills and ability to throw other types of shots. But if all you do is either hit the fairway or pull it from the rough at a stroke and throw it from the fairway, we never see those skills. It was boring to watch from my perspective.
I am not boring, you're boring.
It also hurt to see all those woods not being utilized. It's what I would be looking for when hunting down a property. It would be like taking some kids to an enormous candy store and then only letting them eat the licorice. So how do we get the courses tougher? Use the rough. Cut down the brush under the trees for the first 20 feet, thus creating the first cut. Then your rough comes after that. And after the rough, if you must, put your OB line after that. Even short of cutting brush, which makes pace of play quicker and disc hunting easier, you could move OB lines into the trees, maybe 20 or 30 feet. Then you have some scrambling. These things will help find the best player of the weekend better than what has been going on, and it will be more fun to watch as well. And clearing brush out and using the rough will help recreational players, while also making the course play the same every week of the year. Many courses have a hard time maintaining OB lines that are used for tournaments. Take that line that divides the grass from the trees and move it into the trees. Less maintenance, no mowers hitting stakes, blah blah blah. Now, one response to some of this would be, what about pace of play? The minute we put pace of play ahead of finding the best player, that's the minute we need to hang it all up. Why compete? Finding the best player is more important than fitting 4 or 8 more players into the field. Yes, I'm used to a different time when we used to play 2 rounds a day, but it did have the benefit of bringing the best players to the top. We even played 9 rounds at Worlds. Yes, that's a crazy week. Pace of play is fixed through good design. It just takes a little bit of work once you find those choke points. But what if your piece of property doesn't have as many trees, or is a reclaimed golf course? Yes, I totally understand the need for added OB on some courses, but look for visual stuff first, and then use stakes to clarify. A dirt road or a riverbed that is dry much of the year is visual to the player and spectator. A mass of white stakes on its own can look ill-defined and confusing from a distance or on camera. Or how about instead of using 2 rows of stakes down an old ball golf fairway, keeping players out of the trees, having 1 row of stakes but closer to the trees, forcing the throw towards that rough and then allowing the use of that rough. Or, hear me out, how about throwing from inside the trees and across the fairways and back into the trees and not using any white stakes?
That's crazy talk.
With good design, you can control where you want people to throw. One huge problem with these tight fairways in the open is that players just lay up or throw safe the whole time. You're taking all of the choices away from them. Okay, enough about the white stakes. Many times in interviews, I've heard players say they just try to play against the course and not worry about the other players. It helps them approach the round more like a practice round. I like to take this concept to heart. As a course designer, they are playing against you. It's a chess match. At least I hope it's a chess match and not checkers. You want them trying to outthink you and get creative when the time calls for it. When you're playing against them, are you coming at them with a full set of shots, short touch as well as controlled bomber, or just a bunch of boring hyzers? You want them trying to outthink you and get creative when the time calls for it. When you're playing against them, are you coming at them with a full set of shots, short touch, as well as controlled bombers? Or is it just a bunch of boring hyzers? And just a reminder, this course you're seeing is at a retreat center in the mountains of southern Colorado, and we're doing a crowdfunding campaign to equip the course with a full set of good baskets, concrete tees, and tee signs. If you click on the pinned comment below, you can see the status of that. The cool thing about our campaign is, for donors of $500 and up, they can come stay at the retreat here with us for a few days or more and play some disc golf. Of course, we need small donations as well, so thanks for checking it out. Okay, less and better use of OB and more scrambling in the rough. But can we still add more difficulty? Yes, definitely. The next video is all about the putting green and basket placement. We'll see you there.
Where'd he go?
Circle 7.